Now, on a lot of these shows, I just basically say flat out that our governments are a criminal cabal and that they're just a bunch of criminals working for the bankers. And I say this because it can be readily proven. All you have to do is look at the state of the world. All you have to do is look at the rights of corporations. All you have to do is look at what the media says. Look at what the media fails to address. The issues that the media simply leaves alone and fails to address altogether. I mean, come on, folks. Look around you at the state of the world. Look at the wars, look at the division, look at the poverty, the starvation, the homelessness. Look at these escalating interest rates, which are completely and utterly unnecessary. Just step back and look at how this money system works and see how contrived this whole mess is. And there's your proof. Yes, the governments are a bunch of criminal scumbags working for international banking interests. If they weren't, if they were actually acting in the best interest of the people, well, you know, the world would not be in this state. There'd be no homeless people. There'd be no reason to pay to live in a country we were born in, to pay to live on a world that we were born on. As soon as we're born, as soon as we're old enough to be called an adult, we're told we have to pay for every moment that we're alive. We have to pay simply to exist on a planet that we were born on. This is not what humankind is supposed to be doing. This is happening because everybody's just under mind control. Everybody thinks that this is how the world is supposed to function. Everyone thinks that having the latest trinkets or the latest exploding shoes and having a 48-inch plasma screen high-definition TV is the meaning of life. And meanwhile, the rest of the planet has been absolutely raped and trashed. And now, with the concept of man-made global warming and things like the Copenhagen Treaty, they are set to pull the rug out from under your feet. They've kept you brainwashed and distracted with trinkets and toys and plasma TVs and fast cars and football and soaps and television dramas and fashion, celebrity gossip, that you haven't noticed what's been happening to the world. And if you don't stand up and pay attention soon, then you're going to be in for a very, very nasty shock. And the only people you will have to blame are yourself. And if you're sitting back there saying, look, I don't want to know about this, I'm not interested in your conspiracy theories, well, pretty soon you're going to wish you'd listened. You've got a very, very short amount of time. This Copenhagen Treaty is due to be signed in 4 days. This is going to be the start of it. There are going to be a good many police officers and military personnel who are brainwashed enough to continue following whatever is dictated to them by our corrupt governments. The reason they dictate things to people, folks, is because actually we live in dictatorships. We live in a functional, rotational dictatorship because both sides are controlled by the same hand and the agenda never changes. They just put a different face on the coin and they allow you the illusion that you have something to do with it by staging a fake election every few years. And these elections, I mean, sure, folks, you get to vote whichever party in, but basically it's just whichever one's promoted by the media, whichever one has the catchier punchlines. And they simply put a different face on the same coin. And usually when they do it, the agenda escalates dramatically. Look what happened with Obama. Look what happened with Kevin Rudd in Australia. As soon as Kevin Rudd got into Australia, he introduced so many laws, the anti-terrorism laws, and the stuff that this man introduced to remove the rights of the people it was just like a snowball gathering momentum on the way down a hill. And the same with Barack Obama. These people backflip on all the promises they make. Now, I've said before, I think that politicians who break their election promises should be charged with perjury because they break the promises they were elected to keep. You know, you can't just say, look, I'm going to do all this stuff and then get elected and then do exactly the opposite. That is called promissory estoppel. If you or I did that, then we would be charged with promissory estoppel. We would be subject to heavy fines and possibly a jail term. Yet politicians do this on a regular basis because people have been tricked into believing that these people can just get away with things, that they are our rulers. But they're not. They are our servants. If you hired a servant or a maid to your household based on their resume, based on their ability to do certain things and their agreement to do certain things, and then they did the opposite, you would sack these people instantly. Yet politicians have tricked us into believing that we have to let them get away with it, when really they are nothing different to a servant or a maid of the people. We elect these people to carry out specific tasks based on our well-being. We employ these people to act in our best interests and to run the country in a just and fair manner that will be good for all humanity. And look what they have done to the world. Folks, when one stands back and really looks at the state of the world, there is definitely something wrong with this picture. And again, folks, I'm not calling for anarchy in any of what I say, in any of my shows. I'm not calling for the overthrow of government. I'm not calling for violent revolution. What I am advocating with every one of my shows is personal responsibility and accountability. What I would like to see is people understand their personal responsibility to help make this a better world and to do the right thing. And I would like to see accountability for the criminals who are in charge of our governments. That's the problem, see folks. Government isn't the problem. The problem is the criminal cabal that has infiltrated our governments. That's the problem. And it is a criminal cabal. And again, what is needed to fix the problem? What is needed to address all of this and make it go away very, very quickly in a very peaceful manner is for people to simply stand up and address the problem. And this can only be done with public awareness. This is why, as I say, it's so important to spread information. Just show people the facts, show people this ClimateGate report, lay the cards on the table, explain to people what the ramifications of something like ClimateGate actually is. This clearly shows that these people have been lying to us on all counts. The vision that they have of the future is something absolutely shocking, and to see that the vision is exactly the way we have been describing for you, to see that they actually do want to make things this bad, well, you only have to consider the ramifications of ClimateGate, the ramifications of this monetary system. Really, folks, if you look at it, it is so obvious what is going on here. And when you tie it together with things like the chemical spraying, the chemtrails, the HAARP weather control device in Alaska, the fake wars of contrivance, the fake war in Afghanistan, the fake war in Iraq, the whole Al-Qaeda thing, the World Trade Center, September the 11th, the whole thing, folks, the swine flu vaccine, everything that these people have been doing. I mean, wake up and smell the coffee. The people who think that this is all some conspiracy theory, they honestly need to go and get psychiatric help, or they need to go into some sort of chemical detox or something. They need something to get that fluoride out of their brain. They need something to break down the barrier that a lot of these chemicals create between the left brain and the right brain. Because when you lay all the cards on the table, there is only one conclusion that can be reached. And the world is heading for a very bad place if we don't do something about what's going on, folks. That's what I've been trying to point out on all of these shows, is that ultimately, even with everything that is going on, everything that's being done by design, even with the corruption that exists at the highest levels of our governments, the banking system, all of these things, even with all of that going on, sure, it's bad, but the main reason it continues is because we allow it to continue. That's the thing, folks. That's the thing. It's about free will. We agree to go along with this system. And if we don't go along with it, then something happens like what happened to Sherry Jackson, who is now suffering for all of us in an American jail. And we are allowing her to stay in there simply by our inaction. Everybody should wake up to reality and simply make a stand to be one united humanity, to have honest government, to have peace and prosperity for all, because we could achieve this very easily. The only thing that has ever stopped us achieving these goals is our government and the corrupt monetary system and corporate interests that control our governments. That's what stopped us the whole time, folks. We simply need to understand the power that we've got. As I so often say to you on all of these shows, we need to stop centering ourselves in a state of fear and start centering ourselves in the correct polarity, which is a state of love. Once we do this, it's very easy to stand up to these people and simply say no. I've been trying to do that, folks, and I really have very little to do with the system at all. And I have as much as I can to do with the people around me, to do with humanity. I do these shows every week not because I want to be a famous radio star. I do these shows because I care about you, and I care about the future that is being created for my son. And I feel that it is my responsibility as a conscious, living, breathing soul on this planet to do something about corruption when I see it in front of me. I have no fear of this corruption, but I do see it for what it is. And it stinks, folks.